Hello YouTube, this is Sam Gerrans from Qur'an.com. Today is Thursday the 22nd of August 2019. You find me on my morning constitutional walk out in the park. I don't have my headphones or microphone with me, so I apologise for the sound quality, but something came to mind and I want to jot this down before I forget. In my line, doing what I do with my work with the Qur'an and so on, you get a lot of people who say, oh, you know, I love your work, but there's this one thing, you know, whatever it is, your interpretation of daraba, which actually comports with the Arabic, or if only you didn't talk about conspiracy theories, or if only you didn't talk about this, or if only you didn't talk about that. And it reminds me that, you know, they want you to compromise, you know, that they'll compromise so you compromise. And if you sort of chipped away at everything that you do in order to please people, there should be nothing left. So I don't, I just stick to what's true, because, as I see it, because at the end of the day, you know, if you're ever going to get attacked or worse, you know, for what one believes, you might as well go down for what it is you actually do think. So anyway, what I wanted to talk about was the conspiracy theory thing. See, conspiracy theory is just it's a stop word. It stops people from thinking any further. They just hear conspiracy theory. I mean, history is a litany of conspiracies. It's just what it is. Let's take Caesar, okay? Prior to when he was murdered. I mean, if you'd gone up to Caesar before the Ides of March and said, Caesar, Julius, my old mucker, you know what, they're out to get you, and he'd said it's conspiracy, he wouldn't have said that, because Rome was a hotbed of conspiracies, as was Byzantium, as are all power structures, as is any big company. If you work in one, you know that that's the case. People conspire together to get things done. It's just how it is. If you work in a big company, and if you're not at the top of that big company, you absolutely have no idea what that company's doing. Not really. You might think you do. There'll be a PR version for you, but how far that comports with the truth, that's going to be a very different matter. Anyway, regarding conspiracy theories, I suppose in some ways it's easier for me to get, because I've spent so much of my time in Russia and been connected with Russia for so long. According to Solzhenitsyn, 66 million people were murdered by the government in this country in the 20th century. So if you want to call that a conspiracy, I mean, you know, these are real deaths, and I think it makes it harder for a lot of people who've grown up in America and the UK to understand these things, because although lots of people from those countries have died, they've generally done their dying somewhere else, so they haven't seen that. But the one thing I wanted to get to was really 9/11 is a key, and I'm not here, my channel isn't about trying to convince you of all of this, but my worldview is predicated on the assumption that we are ruled. It's that democracy is a complete farce. It may be changing in the UK now, I don't know, because I haven't been so engaged with it, but when I lived there over extended periods of time, people would just look at you with that blank fluoride stare, if you would say, even sort of float the idea that perhaps the people you vote for don't really call the shots. Obviously here, I don't think it's not a difficult conversation to have. But what I wanted to say was this: since my worldview is predicated on the idea that there is, or on the, you know, the assertion, the belief that we are essentially ruled, and you know, everywhere I go in the world I see the same agenda being rolled out, you know, the same libtard agenda, the soy boy agenda, the weaponizing of women who've become basically a liability against themselves, against their cultures, against their husbands, against their families, you know, with feminism and emancipation, which means that now they have nobody to defend them except the state, of course. So all of this feminist independence just means they collectively sucking money out of all the men And, you know, once that goes, they're going to be utterly lost. They're going to have nobody to defend them. And the people that used to defend them, of course, are just going to, are already, they're going MGTOW, they're just walking away. The complete destruction of manliness, of male qualities, all of it, through to, I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing, but stopping people from smoking. I mean, if people want to smoke, let them smoke. But no, you can't smoke. The government's going to tell you what you can do. You have to do this, you have to do that. Even through my recent travels to America, seeing the scooter phenomenon everywhere. And then I got back to my hometown, and yeah, scooters have been installed here as well. So there's just basically one agenda. Anyway, if this is too much for you to grasp, I wanted to suggest one thing. Look into Building 7, all right? In the iconic event of 9/11, which, as far as I'm concerned, was, I mean, if you really do believe that 19 Arabs who couldn't fly a Cessna managed to dupe and the entire power of the American defense system, of NORAD, the CIA, the FBI, you know, no, they managed to get past it all, but they managed to leave their their identifying documents at the bottom of the Twin Towers. If you really believe that, then I have one thing that I'd just like you to look at. Building 7. Building 7 is what's called the Solomon Building. Now, if you believe that aluminium tubes managed to bring down the Twin Towers in what looked to me absolutely like a controlled demolition, okay, let's just park that for a moment. Look at Building 7. Building 7, nothing hit it, and it collapsed on its own footprint. This has never happened ever with any modern high-rise building built on a metal structure. Never. There have been buildings that have burnt for hours, days. They still stand. This thing collapsed on its footprint. Look it up online. You won't find it, you know, it's very difficult to find it. And consider, if you're really going to accept that that is what happened, that you know, actually more than that, the BBC announced that it had collapsed before it happened, and that's verifiable. This isn't the main focus of my channel here. This isn't what I'm about. But if you really can look at that and still just shout conspiracy theory, I can't help you. You know, I can point you towards the information, but I can't understand it for you. And I do understand that it's difficult to grasp, but the people at the top of this are capable of these sorts of things. But it's better to get your head around it now than you know, when they've already got a gun at your head. And the gun will come. The gun will come. This is a takedown, in my opinion. This is a complete social implosion, and they're using everybody. They're using every minority, so-called, you know, every ism, everything from brand Islam to women to, you know, to homosexuals. There's nothing that this agenda won't use. Nothing. It uses the security services and all of that. And I know it's really difficult to face it all. But if you're in doubt and you actually do want to know, then I say look at Building 7 and ask yourself, does this make any sense outside of a controlled demolition? And if it doesn't make any sense outside of a controlled demolition, then, you know, you really need to look at the question of what is called conspiracy theories again, because your survival could well depend upon it. And you know, if you're going to fight a war, you really need to understand who it is, you know, you're up against. Anyway, that's all for now. If you're listening on YouTube, you can download my full translation of the Qur'an free using the button in the top right hand corner, or buy the hard copy there at 10% less than on Amazon. I also encourage you to sign up for the Qur'anite Plus newsletter on the site to get occasional micro updates. You can download the audio from my YouTube videos to your mobile device using the links in the drop down below. I recommend meetquranites.com to connect with other Quran alone believers. Like if you like, comment if you have something constructive to say, and subscribe to get more each week. And use the link in the drop down below to donate if you would like to help me keep doing this. And remember, this life is short, eternity is long. If you want good trees, plant good seeds.